The Illabuck is back in our lives, and when there is a rivalry trophy on the line, Talking Tuesday is gonna get spicy.
It gets heated up.
Welcome to the beat. It's a Talking Tuesday, and it says right there that Adam King is on the show. He's standing right here on my left.
Adam King.
From 10 TV, Television's Adam King, and he's got some questions on his mind because Ryan Day will be at the podium later today, which is a Tuesday, to talk about this matchup with Illinois. Buckeyes are favored by, depending on where you see it, about 15.5. So a couple touchdowns as they go on the road. They're 5-0.
Sounds about right.
They're number one in the country. I think this is a tricky matchup.
You do?
I do.
Well, am I allowed to use my first question to ask why you think it's a tricky matchup?
Yeah, I think maybe it's because I want to be proven correct that I thought going into the season that Brett Bielema, improved quarterback play, really tough, going on the road where weird stuff happens in Champaign. I circled it. It was like, this is the one. I think it wasn't that I thought Ohio State was on upset alert. It wasn't one that I'm not picking the Buckeyes to lose on Saturday when they get out there and kick off at 11 a.m. Central Time in Champaign. I think that Illinois plays the kind of football that can challenge Ohio State. And I know we've talked about that with Washington, and we certainly talked about that with Texas. But I think this is
it with OU a little bit.
This is maybe like the closest comparison to the game that matters most to Ohio State at the end of the regular season. And I don't think that Illinois is as talented as Michigan. Definitely don't think that they're as talented as Texas was going into the year. But they're going to run the football. They're going to tackle well. They're tough on defense. And they are better at quarterback. So, and that's why I think, as I'm spinning it forward, I'm thinking about my question on Saturday night to Ryan Day about, all of this desperate and hungry conversation. Was he worried about that? It felt to me like it was a conscious effort to turn the attention immediately to Illinois, be done with Minnesota, don't take a 24-hour celebration, because that's a real one that is waiting on it. Not talent equated. I don't think we'll hear that, but a significant mile marker test for this team on the road.
Were you the one that asked Ryan that got the answer, him talking about, you cannot lose and then change everything? Was that you?
Yeah, you don't want a loss to make you sit up straight.
Yes, okay. So that is where my first question to Ryan Day comes in. And I'm going to dive into all your stuff with Illinois and your worries that are
Well, you can talk me down. That's
fine. Not necessary at all.
Okay.
We've got 30 minutes or so here to get you back down.
We'll put a pin in it?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Because we'll get there. It's a little bit crazy that you're talking like that. I don't know did you watch the Indiana game? Did you see what happened at Indiana?
I am aware of what happened at Indiana. And I'm also aware that they bounced back and beat USC. One hand.
Do it. Say that they went on the road and beat Purdue. Say it, Austin.
I think they've bounced back nicely. Purdue maybe not so much, but beating USC, I'm going to put a little bit of stock in that. I mean, look, you can maybe by the end of this Talking Tuesday, I'll have gone from a 7 or 8. Again, I'm not concerned that Ohio State is going to lose.
He's at an 11.
Maybe you can get me to a more manageable number.
Just to give you all a preface, I picked Illinois to finish 3rd in the Big Ten. So I was with you preseason, and I still am with you.
Oh, but you jumped off the bandwagon.
I'm not off the bandwagon. I think they're a very good team. My biggest conscious thing here that I have finally gotten to with the Buckeyes, it took me 5 games to just I'm done with it, is that Ohio State is just better.
Okay.
They are just in a different tier at this point in college football. And I think it is so hard for us at a minuscule level to see them every play, to hear Ryan is the best motivator I can remember in a long time, in the fact that you can walk away from a game that they won 42-3 and go, wow, did they lose? And that is so good when you're such a dominant team. It is Nick Saban-esque. People joke he's in his Nick Saban era. It's really starting to sound like that. And my first question comes from the end of your question on Saturday, which is, Ryan, I'm not trying to be detrimental to the first few years of your coaching. I mean, it was he went to the national championship. He won Big Ten titles. But I can't remember a time, and I go back to the Urban era, where an Ohio State team addressed the issues before they lost. And
the issues are always there.
Yes, the issues are always there. But I feel like there are so many times that we sit there in the press box, we sit there watching a game and we're like, boy, that secondary is going to get picked on by one game. And then you see the game and they lose and you're like, this is what we were talking about.
Right.
Ryan Day something has flipped. And I don't know if it's that Oregon game last year, because that was the last time I remember sitting there thinking, It wasn't even the Michigan loss, because the Michigan loss was just like an anomaly. Like everything kind of went wrong.
Yeah.
But the Oregon loss, they were all things that we had circled and let's put a pin on that because that could be a problem. And nobody addressed them until it all went downhill.
Yeah.
What changed in his coaching style? Because I really do think, and it's interesting that he talked about this after I heard Caleb Downs say it on his podcast, that Ryan Day he just acts differently. He just acts, I think he used the exact words that Caleb Downs said, which is he doesn't wait to lose to make adjustments in that locker room. And what flipped, what changed? And maybe it didn't change. Maybe it's a growing moment. When did it click in his coaching career that you have to be more, you can be forceful as a head coach, walk into a room full of people that know that they're 5-0, know they're the number one team in the country, and still tell them, you got a lot of work to do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, part of it is, I think, and we'll see, it's a great question. I'd be fascinated to know. He may not have time to dive into it into a normal Tuesday weekly press conference. But it's an hour about his coaching career and his development, I think would be really interesting. Because I think you could easily cherry pick, well, some of this he got from Urban, some of this he got from Chip Kelly, some of this is some of the experience that he's had from Nick Saban, and it's all still distilled in the way that, Ryan Day, what works for him. But he's a different coach than he is today when he took over. There's no question about that. It would be a real problem if he wasn't. Because for all the time, so I think it's not just the loss, but it is also what allows you to go into a room and say the issues are here, we're going to get them corrected, and I know how to get this done. It's the national championship trophy. It's the validation. It's the proof. It is the theory versus testimony that Ohio State talks about a lot. So I think it's professional and personal development. It's the scars that he's talked about for players that also applies to his coaching career. And then the proof that he's got through on the other side, really successful. And I was talking about this with Zach Boren on Monday's Boren Blitz for the beat, where it's like,
it's a lot of B's.
I know. It's alliteration. You know how I feel about it.
You love alliteration.
I love alliteration. I think you look at it, and a lot of these coaches, when they reach the mountaintop, that's what works, and I'm going to stop getting better. I point to Dabo Swinney as the prime example of that.
Good example.
Mike Gundy is another. And some of these guys and Mike Gundy didn't accomplish anything near what Dabo did, but it's like, this is what I do. This is what I'm going to surround myself with. And even there was a period, I think, where you can say at the end of Urban Meyer's tenure at Ohio State, where there, as famously intense as he always was, some of that was like, a few hires that he made at the end that created some of the problems. He wasn't thinking as creatively and outside of the box as he did when he first arrived at Ohio State. And I think you're seeing Ryan Day recognize, because he was part of that at the end, it's like the offense needs an influx of passing game and creativity, and they got that, and the defense was going the wrong direction, which was ultimately, I think, some of the end there for Urban Meyer's success. But it's like, all right, well, I have to continue to challenge. I have to think unorthodoxly. I have to make aggressive hires, and Matt Patricia would be one of the prime examples of that. That's not someone that he'd ever worked with before. He had a huge void on that coaching staff with both Chip Kelly and Jim Knowles left when they were gone. So anyway, I feel like you and I could also talk about it for an hour, but the answer from Ryan Day, I think, would be very illuminating.
Because I think and it's not an overnight thing, but I think it's been a gradual. I've been trying to figure out, people say he's walking different, he's talking different, and he is. And I think a lot of that has to do with the national title. You can finally say, we all knew he was a very good coach. I mean, by the way, he's the all-time winningest coach in college football win percentage-wise. So I think that
seems pretty good.
That's a pretty good stat to have. But so then when you have that trophy, I think it's allowed him to realize and to be able to say, I know what I'm doing, and and you're right. This is how it can pan out. I thought that I really enjoyed, and maybe that's why I'm not at a 7 or an 8, because preseason, there were 2 games that I circled, Illinois and Wisconsin. And Wisconsin decided not to have an offense this year. So I've uncircled.
It's a crazy choice by Luke Fickell.
I have uncircled, I've erased that. I'm like, Ohio State scores 7 points, think they're good. I watched that Wisconsin-Michigan game, and I thought, boy, if any other offense was on the field, this would be a ball game.
And still was a ball game.
It still was a ball game.
Yeah.
But with that said, I just think that this Ohio State team is at a different level. And I don't know, and you can argue Miami, you could argue Oregon is near up there, but it just feels like right now, because of the defense, and this leads me to my next question, I don't know what it is this defense does the best. And I would love to, so my question for Ryan Day on Tuesday, this I think I might ask him, and he has to do this every day in practice. Where would you most exploit this Ohio State defense? Like what you're sitting down.
Wait, you want him to tell Brett Bielema how to attack Matt Patricia?
Yeah, I don't know that he's a lie detector Ryan Day. Lie detector Ryan Day.
Into a live microphone?
Lie detector Ryan Day. He's not actually going to say it. But
okay.
I would love to know, like, when you sit down and watch this tape, it's a roundabout way of asking where do you think you need the most growth on defense without asking what is a generic question that gets the answer of everywhere we've got to get better. And he has a right, which is true. The issues are always there. But there's got to, like, I can't figure it out. I watch so much football. And, like, did you see the Jermaine Matthews play where Jermaine blitzed? And so that play blew my mind when it happened live because I think it was the simplest form to put on paper and say, rule number one for a quarterback is to throw at the blitz. If the blitz is coming, you got a guy that's not on it. He's open. Throw at him.
Yeah.
And then like 5 Buckeyes are just like, yeah, that was a bad idea. I'm sorry about that. And I'm like, that is so mean. So I want to ask Ryan Day, like, when you look at this defense, maybe not where do you exploit them, like, what are you most confident in? Like when you are out there and you're watching them, what allows you to know that they're going to get off the field? Because they're just amazing. Like, and I can't put it into words anymore because I think it is genuinely the most complete Buckeye defense, certainly through 5 games of the season, that I can remember in the last 2 decades. Play calling wise,
25 points in 5 games.
That's insane.
It's nuts.
The defensive line has absolutely shown up. I would just like to say, this is no shot at anybody. Defensive line struggled for Penn State. 42 points, a lot of points. They did not so much against Minnesota here in Columbus.
I think they handled their business pretty well.
I think 42 points to UCLA.
How did you happen to pick Penn State?
I was thinking about a game that I watched, and Penn State came to mind. With that, when I look at the linebackers, I mean, I said this on Saturday, and I no longer feel like it's a debate. Like, the linebacker room at Ohio State has to be the best linebacker room in the country. If you are singling out Sonny and Arvell and kind of playing that 2 linebacker look.
Well, I mean, Peyton Pierce.
Peyton Pierce is great. And I still want to see Riley Pettijohn. There's no way to see Riley Pettijohn at this point.
What a tease we got.
I know. That's so frustrating. They're just too good. And then when you look at the secondary, I mean, it's so... Davison Igbinosun has looked unbelievable. There's another question for Ryan is, what has allowed Davison to take that next step? He kind of talked about his jarring on the field and his energy on the field a little bit last press conference, but Davison looks like a different guy out there. He is making himself so much money right now.
He is.
And when you look at Davison, we know Caleb Downs is great. McClain has looked really comfortable back there. Lorenzo Styles, people wanted to...
Awesome game.
They circled that one play against OU, and they're like, I don't know, that kid.
We told you so.
Yeah. Lorenzo Styles looks amazing.
Hey, Austin, stop talking about Lorenzo.
Go look at the play where he just comes like a bullet on like the 8-yard line of Minnesota and just takes out the guy. I mean, there are so many things. So, Ryan, like, I can't figure it out, so I'm going to ask you as a head coach. I want you to tell me why this defense is so good. Yeah. Just, like, what... It's amazing. And I don't know how to ask him that question without, like, I want to be in the mind of Matt Patricia. Like, when he sits down, he has to be so happy.
Well, I don't know if he...
but you're going to say he's not happy.
Well, he's a coach, so he's never going to be satisfied.
What more do you want?
But I think this particular week, like, if we're going to be talking...
It's Devin Sanchez. That's what more you want.
Well, but if you zoom out and go big picture, or you focus on, the health of this team right now, like, they're not in the exact same situation. That's why I think they may be stressed out, like continuing that and doing it again on Saturday against Illinois, because we don't know what the status is going to be for Kenyatta Jackson. This is twice that he's had to leave games, and they took that helmet away, we're not doctors. We're not going to
but
speculate
that is typically.
We know what the signs of that
Yeah.
generally mean. And that would be 2 games that happened for him. And he was in shorts at the end of that game on Saturday night. Edric Houston it just looked, even though he played really, really well, looked like the best version of himself, he went up, to the locker room in the second half on Saturday night as well. He's had the ankle. Everything has sort of lingered since the start of the year. And then you have these other, fascinating dominoes to consider where, CJ Hicks, there's a plan in place for him to redshirt this season, but you can't execute that plan if Kenyatta Jackson is hurt or going to be limited or missing any time because you need CJ Hicks to go back out there and play. So that's a new one. I don't know that I've seen that in a situation, certainly not with a 4th-year player like CJ Hicks. So for me, you're talking about the defense and where they're concerned. I think there's going to be way more conversation on Tuesday in the Woody Hayes Athletic Center about the defensive line. And I know that there's been 8 months of it. We've beaten it into the ground, but now the situation has changed even more.
Because you just don't have the depth right now.
Which
is what we knew would always be the problem.
And that was the question. And so now this is that first week where they're dealing with that level of adversity. There are health concerns. That's going to come up. It's a 16-game season, and it's a very physical sport. All that stuff is obvious. But now, okay, how do you adjust that? We know that Matt Patricia has solutions. We've seen 8 be one of them.
Yeah.
Like Arvell Reese can help there. Bo Atkinson, I think he's continued to get more comfortable, and Ohio State has activated him a little bit. But what else is available there? And for me, I think the most intriguing subplot of all of this is you and I have, every Talking Tuesday, you've tried to find some way to bring CJ Hicks back into the conversation. And I love CJ Hicks. He's one of the most engaging personalities, that Captain Buckeye moniker.
Good guy.
He's a great guy. And I'm excited to see, everyone has been excited to see what Matt Patricia and CJ Hicks can cook up as he's working with Larry Johnson in the defensive line group. But if that's on the shelf for the time being, and by the way, could still play in the playoffs and it wouldn't count against him for this redshirt situation. So all of that dynamic, to ask Ryan Day, it's like, where does this idea come from? This new age of roster management and getting ready for Illinois specifically with that.
I think you nailed it. I feel like, and I can't remember a year like this, where Ohio State's, you know how coaches step to the podium and they say, we're focused on ourselves. Ryan says
it's all about us.
It's all about us. It really is all about Ohio State right now. And maybe that's I just don't think that, and it's not, and if Illinois comes out and they can clip this out right here, is like,
Washington did a couple weeks ago.
While Washington did clip out something I said. I know, more sarcastic tone, but they used it as a hype. They leaned into it. That's fine.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah. How you watched, we really appreciate it.
Had to be 10 TV Plus.
10 TV Plus. I just don't think, I think you're right. Here's a question. What is the balance of preparing for a team like Illinois versus looking back at that Minnesota game and just focusing on yourselves? Because we talk about it and we say it in a generic way, but what is the balance inside the Woody right now? For certain games, it's going to be different. When Penn State comes to town, we thought that was going to be a top 5 matchup. So that's one of those games
sure isn't now.
No, it's all, you're locked in on matchup. Illinois, we thought might be a matchup game, but now it feels like one of those games that you're really going to zero in on yourself and say, I felt the Washington game was Ohio State learning about themselves and tinkering. Okay, we got to go win a football game. All right. And then they went and did it. I think the Illinois game can be that too. I don't think that I think the era of Ryan Day scoring 50 points in a Big Ten game, unless everything, I think it's done in the regular season, because I think Ohio State is fine playing the tempo that they're playing.
Yeah.
And I think that they're focused on themselves when they're out there. I think they're like, okay, let's see how Edric Houston can handle this. Okay, let's see if we can put Bo Atkinson in this role here and get him in there and have this be a more regular thing, because everything is focused on Penn State, Michigan, and what's beyond, and getting ready for trying to chase another trophy.
But I think even, as you said, I think it's a great point. When you look at learning about that game against Washington and then taking into the next week, I think one of the lessons that Ryan Day and Brian Hartline and Billy Fessler took out of that was like, all right, you can play at a more methodical, slow-paced tempo, but that doesn't mean that you can't take deep shots
That's
or
true.
shouldn't take deep shots. And if you have the best players on the field in Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate and you trust Julian Sand to push the football down the field, you can still huddle, still take your time. You might still have a couple drives that are one play on a play action end around and shoot.
Might
it's
work
right down the
real
field.
quick.
And it might connect. And so again, like it wasn't like as if Ohio State was trying not to score, but I do think that the first month of the season, and now you can maybe even add game number 5 against Minnesota in there, like there were a lot of inexperienced players, including at quarterback, that they had to bring along maybe at that methodical pace. Maybe they will continue to play at that speed all year. But we also saw them shift gears a little bit against Minnesota. It's like, and I think that that's the part where that can be a weapon. They don't have to play at just one speed.
No, they do not. But that almost builds on my point. And Ryan hasn't really, we asked him a couple questions about this last week, and he hasn't really dove into. He kept saying there's the plan now, and then there's long-term plan, which I get it. He's saying we want to make sure that we're not running 1 million reps a game because this could be a 16-game season.
Yep.
But this is why I'm not worried about Illinois. You're at a 7. I know right now that if Ohio State is losing this game 10-3 in the second quarter, they have that gear that they can go, all right, enough is enough tinkering with this, enough taking our time, enough, boom. And next thing you know, it's 10-10, 17-10.
Are you saying they'll just put on the film of Indiana and be like, they scored 63 points?
Yeah, exactly. They can do it. We can do it.
Okay.
No, I think that they're on a different level than I can remember a Buckeye team this early in the season, which is remarkable because they're so young, they're so new. But it just feels like, and it all comes back to Julian Sand, who we haven't really talked about, who had an amazing game and who continues to be amazing. And people yelled at me for saying that he played at a Heisman level yesterday, but I thought it was pretty good. He had 4 incompletions.
That stat line,
pretty good.
That looks like what most Heisman quarterbacks would produce.
Pretty good.
I had a couple people ask on Saturday night before they left, and they said, who is Ohio State's Heisman candidate? And I said, well, it's still Jeremiah.
Yeah, it's Jeremiah.
But the quarterback is going to get attention if he continues doing what he did on Saturday.
I think at the end of this thing, it could be like Jeremiah 3rd and Julian 5th.
You don't think they'll win?
I don't think that the college football world, there's a reason Ohio State hasn't had a Heisman winning quarterback or Heisman winning player since 06, 07 and Troy Smith. They are too good. People discount, it's true, people discount, if I had a vote, Jeremiah Smith would win the Heisman in 2 seconds. He's the best player in college football.
Yeah.
But people discount, and they say, well, Jeremiah has Julian throwing to him, and Julian's throwing to Jeremiah. And they work their way around in these ballots to do whatever they want with them that you can give somebody like Carson back. Well, he didn't have anybody at Miami. He showed up and turned this around. He led the Hurricanes to a top 2 seed, so they should get the Heisman.
Whose voice was that?
I don't know. It was somebody's. It is just, that is so infuriating with the Heisman. If I could hand out the Heisman, do I think Jeremiah Smith would win? Absolutely. But
well, you have your own power rankings. I think you should get your own college football.
I will put out my own Heisman rate. The AK Top 20 comes out every Sunday. Make sure you lock in. They are undefeated. The rankings.
When will you be presenting the AK stiff arm statue to Jeremiah Smith?
I don't think I did that right.
That was pretty good.
Okay.
I
saw Manziel do it on the sideline at the Vandy game.
Make sure you clip that out, America.
Yeah.
That's Adam King's Heisman post. Well, whatever he names it, because I think the Heisman that's
probably would sue me.
That's trademark.
Yeah, that's not great.
So we'll have to work on that. Next week on Talking Tuesday, we'll have an awards update. Maybe it'll have a name from Adam King. I hope it's alliterative.
I will come with a Heisman trophy.
Oh.
I will make a try, and I will put a little picture of myself on it.
Yeah. Doing that pose right there? Perfect.
I don't think the leg is sideways, though. I think it's like sideways, I feel like you'd get hurt. There you go.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that looks perfect to me.
I just wanted to show off my shoes.
Thank you for doing so. And thank you for joining us on 97.1 The Fan's YouTube channel, or 10 TV's YouTube channel, or 10 TV Plus, or Apple, or Spotify, or anywhere you get podcasts.
Not Patreon.
No. That's a lesson that we've learned. There's a lot of other sites out there where we're not.
We will not promote them.
We're not going to be found there. But wherever you found Talking Tuesday right here, we thank you for joining us. We will be at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center to hear from Ryan Day later on Tuesday. We'll have Snap Judgments. And Berm will be back tomorrow. Tomorrow with the Stock Watch. Thanks again to Adam King for his thoughts. Stick right with us. We'll see you again tomorrow on The Beat. See ya.